We are very excited for this moment because we got the one and only Harrison Duran, the fossil excavator. And hey, he's right here as we speak right now. Hey, do you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thanks for
Hey,
having
what's
me.
good, Harrison? How's it going?
Great, thank you.
Hey, that's what I like to hear, man. You are one of my favorite people, and I've been hunting you down since last summer. Ever since I heard your art, to me, I think it's the most inspirational thing that I think all millennials should have. Oh, look it, we even brought our own little T-Rex friend. We'll call it Alice. We'll play
it's
the
not
game.
Alice, it's Chewy.
Oh, it's Chewy.
Chewy.
Which, Marissa, I think you're bringing a very fair point, right?
Yes, because I want to know. Okay, Harrison. Do you go by Harrison or Harry?
Harrison's fine. And
Okay.
we'll both
Okay,
say-
I wanted to call you Harry because
you can call me
Harrison is
that.
still too long a name, just like a dinosaur's name. Why cannot dinosaur names be short, sweet, and digestible?
Yeah, like Moby Dick.
Like my
You know?
Chewy. I am Chewy.
Right.
Okay, tell me why.
Yeah, so usually I think part of the tradition is that you want to have some sort of Latin name. And when you do this, you're encompassing like the translation in Latin is pretty short. So like some of the new tyrannosaurs that were recognized were called like the Reaper of Death.
Right.
Yeah, see, that's a name
different-
I can get
different
behind.
Stuff like that. And but usually it comes from a Latin background. So that's why the names are all kind of long and confusing.
Hey, but you found it in America, right? Like, why don't you give it some nice, cool American name? You could call it Chris Collins.
Yeah.
Chris Collins dinosaur.
I'm just
But
giving
this-
suggestions, Harrison.
Hey, next one though, right? Next one we
Could you
That's
promise me that you
right.
maybe we can merge our names together, Harrison?
Uh,
Because Harrison, I like
no,
that.
how about
Yeah.
Coloduranosaurus?
Okay, stop playing.
Coloduranosaurus.
Hey, but you know what? I just wanted all the listeners to really get to understanding about you. So, Harrison, please tell us about your story, because I really loved how you really pursued trying to get a job at the Brea Tar Pits at one point. And
Yes.
so break that down for us, because I really think this is very inspiring.
Yeah, so as a kid, I would always go to the tar pits, right? I grew up in Orange County, so I'm pretty close by. And the tar pits and the American Museum of Natural History in Los Angeles were places that really kind of sparked my passion. I've always been fascinated with the study of paleontology, and I have pretty much kind of like pursued it up until now. And usually it's kind of tough to follow something that you've been passionate about as a kid, but thankfully I've had the opportunities to pursue that in my studies.
Did you ever take a date to the La Brea Tar Pits and like wow
Just
them
talk
with your
so
knowledge?
much, yeah, dinosaur talk.
I did take my girlfriend recently there.
Ooh,
Yeah.
is
So
your
have you
girlfriend
ever
into
taken her
dinosaurs?
when you were in a fight and thought about throwing her in? Because that's a really good place to get rid of someone, because they'll sink and kind of like disappear for a while, and then after you're
What
dead,
is
they'll
wrong
like bubble
with
back
you?
up.
We're trying to
Too
talk
much?
with our guests
Okay.
and have a civil conversation, Marissa. Pull back here. Pull back here.
Sorry,
But
dinosaurs
all I
get me
gotta say is,
excited.
No comment.
where did this influence come to want to, be a fossil excavator? Did it start with the cartoon series Land Before Time, or were you a huge fanatic of the trilogy of Jurassic Park, or were you just already had that mindset that dinosaurs was my number one thing?
I think it was all the above. Certainly the media, the film industry, that obviously like helps to like the lore. I think that adds to the lore and the public eye of dinosaurs, because they're almost kind of like mythological, right? They're
Yeah.
almost kind of like they're. I don't think a lot of people forget that they were real animals, and it sort of adds to that lore of it.
I have a quick. This
And
is
so
not
I
on
just-
there. I just have a quick question.
So
I'm
what you
sorry.
got?
If you're talking about the lure, you're talking about the mythical, beast. Are you on the side that dinosaurs are boring, grays and browns, or are you on the side
Or are
that
they colorful?
dinosaurs are colorful? 'Cause I
But
need
then
to
I hear
know
that
which
they're
one is it.
feathery too.
And are
What
they
is
feathery?
it?
What is a dinosaur?
Yes. I think the early part of the 20th century, they were perceived as, or just similarly to reptiles today, right? Cold-blooded, slow-moving, lumbering. And more and more evidence has come out where we found out that they are social. They were most likely warm-blooded. Birds are the most common descendants and they were probably vibrantly colored. And some specimens, we could actually tell the color of the dinosaur.
They're like the
See,
original punk
So
rocker.
get us our friend. We actually brought a friend into this studio.
So he's the outdated version.
So is this outdated right here? This
Poor
Tyler?
Chewie.
now,
He's
I
actually
would say that the Jurassic Park T-Rex they have there it was the most realistic interpretation in the film industry when it came out.
but I know
Uh,
Ooh, that was really
but
politically correct sounding. I like that.
but it's but nowadays there are slight differences to it. It probably didn't roar. It probably used low rumbling vibrations to communicate. There are different. The model you have there is kind of like very skin wrapped, so it's very
Right.
muscly, and whereas real animals have like they have muscle, but they also have a lot of like girth on them too in real life, right? So there's sort of anatomical differences with the movie portrayal and what we have evidence for today.
So the
But
T-Rex is bigger than what I
I
think
would say,
it is?
yeah, I mean, it's around the same size, but it probably was a little bit girthier than what they portray in the movie.
So it was fat.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of fat. I mean, they gotta eat.
Hey, it's
Marissa.
an American.
But,
Yeah.
I know Chewy, he's got a question for you, and he's like,
Hey,
hey,
Chewy.
what is the excitement about digging for T-Rex that you find in the dirt? Like, where does that all start?
It's you are the first person and really the first thing to lay eyes on this specimen in tens of millions of years.
Wow.
You're uncovering these titans of a lost world that really piece together a different time in Earth's history, a time that's so far different than what we perceive today.
Does
Today,
some-
yeah.
I gotta ask you this, Harrison, because I was just thinking, like, do some people argue with fossil excavators that, like, sometimes, like, if you just keep it in the dirt, the longevity is gonna last longer? Like, when you take it, unearth it, for example, is it harder to preserve those fossilized bones?
Yeah, it's since the bones are rock, so it's replaced, mineral has replaced the bone. So it's going to last for a long time, right? It's not going to decay.
Yeah.
It's not this live biological specimen that's going to like rot or anything. It's already been kind of replaced, right? It's a mineralized cast mold. So I think that everybody supports uncovering it because it's all data, right? All these bones and fossils and evidence are data. They're paleoecological data, paleontological data, and I think everybody supports uncovering these, but doing it in a professional manner. That's the big key thing.
But the biggest thing, because you're getting to a great point. These bones, they turn into rocks, and like, so Marissa and I have been debating it all week. We're like, how could you tell the difference between a
Right.
fossilized bone and just a rock?
Yeah, so part of the difference is what you see is that bone has a little bit of a fibrous
Ooh, we
texture
got
to
some
it.
coming on the Skype. I love it.
Oh, so it's porous.
And also too you can see the bone marrow in there.
Oh wow.
So it's an actual, right? I mean, it's an animal, right?
So
So you're gonna have bone marrow, you're gonna have this fibrous texture on the bone, and that's how you determine is based off of the texture.
So is that what
And-
happened? You were sitting there like what you thought was a rock, and then you were just like, "Wait a minute, I see holes in this rock." Like what? What
Yes.
happened? What was that experience?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Yeah, it's a true. I mean, it's a really amazing experience because I haven't seen them in like the wild before, right? I haven't
Right.
stumbled across a dinosaur bone. So when you do see it for the first time, it's a pretty remarkable experience, at least for if you've been interested in the field for your entire life.
Okay,
Well,
I
how
have
did you
to-
get?
I have- oh, I have
Well, I
trivia.
was gonna say. Well, how did you get invited by your professor? Save the trivia for after the
It's a
break.
good trivia. All right, I'll save
But
it.
how did you get invited by your professor to actually join this fossil excavation? Because I think that's pretty cool for any of the listeners that might want to know how to get in the steps that Harrison Duran has done.
Yes. So a lot of excavators go on private land. And if you know a landowner, it's as simple as going up to them, asking them if you could dig on their land, and then you have permission. And so in the case of Dr. Michael Chelland, I met him at a biotech conference a few years ago. So we knew each other through the biotech industry, but he also lives in North Dakota, and he goes out to the Badlands and digs in the southwestern western part of the state.
And what
So
do you mean by digging, though? Because I feel like you don't want to stick the shovel in a little too deep because then you
right.
might damage the dinosaur fall. So how does those procedures happen?
It's more like a prospecting. So you're going along these ravines, these canyons, these buttes, right? This badland terrain, because that's where the late Cretaceous rock is exposed.
Mm.
At least in the Hell Creek Formation. So this rock formation is world famous for having T-Rex and Triceratops and giant raptors and you name it. It's been one of the most rich deposits in the world. So you go along these ravines and you pretty much prospect for pieces of bone that are seeping out of the hillside. You find the bone layer where it's embedded, and then that's where you start excavating. And then if you find something big, then you could pretty much dig around it with shovels. But you prospect with just by looking at the bone on the ground, and then you excavate carefully with smaller tools.
That's pretty cool.
That is insane. And I gotta bet that you have the biggest patience than anybody that I know because I'm a huge heavy metal guy. I like to move fast and like I don't know if I can move that
you're
little
not a dinosaur
paintbrush.
hunter.
You know, I'd be like, ah, you know. But hey, stick around, listeners, because we got Harrison Duran. He's a fossil excavator, and we will be right back after this commercial break. Hey, what's good? We're back from the Chris Collins Show, and we got the wonderful, the specially talented Harrison Duran. He is a fossil excavator. He is a millennial like us, which is very inspiring. And I wanted to bring on Amy Peterson on. She's our wonderful assistant social media coordinator, and she's wearing the fabulous dinosaurs all on her chest. It might be kind of hard for you to see on the Skype. But Amy,
I see it.
But I know you had one question for it. Oh, you got to turn her mic on, though.
That might help. Sorry, Amy.
Wow.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hi.
You know, but like, you know, Amy was kind of wondering, like, why should people care about dinosaurs? Like, why is it so important when we find these dinosaurs? What do we learn from these discoveries?
So when you're discovering, you know, these ancient climates and the animals that lived in them, a lot of it is applicable to today's climate research. So we could look at events from the past that happened, and we could better find out how changes to the planet affect life. Changes affect ecosystems, and so part of the real-world application is pretty much adding to the understanding of how ecosystems work.
So you can learn a lot from the terrain just by looking at it even before you even find that dinosaur?
Yes. So in the case of where Alice lived and the type of world and climate that she lived in a very temperate environment. We had a western interior seaway that cut through the middle of North America, so that means that there weren't really any ice caps at the time and that the global temperature was very high. So we could sort of predict that if the temperature rises, then so will the sea level.
Okay, I have a quick question now because the trivia, this leads into it. Thank you, about sea level. So I'm a trivia fanatic. Do you know what nursery rhyme / tongue twister is associated with dinosaurs?
Ooh.
No, you have to enlighten me on that.
She sells seashells down by the seashore. And why is that associated? Because I know you know this. Do you?
Is that Mary Annie?
Yes. I'm glad
Wow.
you got it.
You know, yeah, Marissa's a huge fanatic
Can
of
you
the
tell our
trivia.
listeners about Miss Mary?
Yes, she was a pioneer in the field of paleontology, specifically marine paleontology, and she is famous for discovering ichthyosaurs. And ichthyosaurs were sort of dolphin-like marine reptiles that existed during the Mesozoic, so during the time of the dinosaurs. They were not dinosaurs, but they were reptiles, marine reptiles that existed in the ocean during that time.
Yep. So her family was broke, and they used to sell seashells, and they would call them seashells. And she was the one that kind of figured out that this was an actual animal and not a seashell.
Well, that's pretty wild because,
Hey,
you know,
hey.
when you think about it, it's like, what can the listeners learn from these DNA off these fossilized bones? Because I know there was some discovery that happened this week, even with finding human bones, right, Marissa? It was like they're able to extract from these
Yes.
bones to even be finding even further.
Did you hear about this? It was in the news this
Knocking
week,
my mic over.
Harrison.
Yes.
I'm so
Yeah.
fascinated. So what's one of the things that, like, now they have this new DNA that they're discovering out from West Africa about another branch of humanity. And to me, that's like, here's where we come from as, humans and evolving and coming out. And how does that tie in with like the search for dinosaurs? Like, where do humans and dinosaurs, where is that link? How does that come together?
So with dinosaurs, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for some, we don't have dinosaur DNA. Since all the biological.
Well, that's kind of a little disappointing. I was kind of hoping that you were going to form your own little dinosaur.
Maybe the missing link is dinosaur DNA.
Yeah.
Have you thought about that? No.
Not even from. Didn't they have dinosaur skin in a museum a while back? Or was that?
They have fossilized dinosaur skin and muscles.
No
So
DNA.
there's fossilized Triceratops skin. There's fossilized Hadrosaur skin. So hadrosaurs are like duck-billed dinosaurs, and but that's all replaced, kind of like sandstone that preserves that. Quickly after the animal dies, it's buried by sediment, and that's how that skin and flesh gets preserved.
Wow.
But with the case of DNA, we don't have any DNA, unfortunately. The only DNA we have of things that existed during the Ice Age, so that's early man, early humans, mammoths, bison, cave
What was
lions.
the last dinosaur to survive? I've always
Ooh,
wondered.
that's an interesting question.
Well, right up Alice, Triceratops, T-Rex, Dakotaraptor, they all existed right up until the asteroid impact.
Wow.
That's
But
right
you didn't
around.
answer
let
my
me-
question. What was the very last dinosaur to survive? No, I'm just kidding. You wouldn't know.
Hey, they're still excavating, Marissa. But I gotta let.
Was it Alice? Was
back
Alice
in
the
that one.
very last dinosaur who would wander around being like, "Are you my mommy? Are you my mommy?"
Maybe it got lost. Maybe it's not in North Dakota and he's got to go to another state. But all I got to say is this. I don't usually like to get my hands dirty, Harrison. So usually when you're going fossil excavating, how many times do you wash your hands? Just to be
Dirty
real.
out there.
Do you do
gloves,
it
guys.
regularly?
You're sacrificing cleanliness.
Ooh.
For sure, when you're out in the Badlands.
So there's no hand sanitizer, no
do
nothing.
you pack toilet paper with you when you are on these excavating trips? Sorry,
this
we have
is-
a bunch of students out here, young students who are looking at
They
the
love you
university,
right now.
and they need to know, what do they pack in their backpack when they go excavating for dinosaurs?
Well,
Snacks.
in some cases, when we're going out for a while, we do pack toilet paper.
So toilet paper, number one, kids.
Yes.
Pack your toilet paper.
Don't palm it.
Totally critical. And, but there's, a myriad of different tools. Actually, a long flathead screwdriver is one of the
Oh.
tools we use, and it sort of picks apart the shale. It acts as like a good tool to pick apart some of the sediment.
No way.
That's pretty
I would
wild.
never have known that. 99-cent store flathead screwdriver. Kids, you heard it first.
But I really wanted to spend the last 5 minutes of our time with you, Harrison, talking about your wonderful nonprofit, Fossil
Yes.
Excavator. So for all the listeners who don't know about your organization, what can you tell them about it?
Yeah, so we formed a nonprofit with the goal of allowing individuals who usually wouldn't get to go on a paleontological expedition to go on one.
Wow.
And we can't accommodate everybody at once, but
Right.
that's the goal is to provide those opportunities, similar way to how I was given this opportunity to go help discover Alice.
And so is there an age limit to sign up to be a fossil excavator? Because I see all these young cats out here, and I know they'd be loving to find the next Jurassic Park. So is there what age or what is it high school level are you taking people
More
in, or
importantly,
college?
what's the cap?
Ooh.
What's the cap?
'Cause I want to get in on this.
Yeah, so we I'm not really sure about the exact number of how many people we could bring. I'm not sure if we could bring 50 people along, but
Sure,
we've
right.
had Dr. Chellan has had field trip groups come out to Skull X. We've had different people, friends and family come out. A lot of local ranchers who helped us with the excavation process, right? Who had their
Yeah.
bobcat excavators that were able to at least dig out paths to carry the skulls out or what have you. So,
That's cool.
Yeah, I can't imagine having like 500 kids all just like running around like, where do you want me to go? Do you want me to start
Right.
brushing over here? You want me to start? I can pick up a screwdriver. I know how to use it. You just turn right? Lefty loosey, right? You know, like, yeah, that can get a little out of control too quick. But
Right. So it would just be a handful of individuals, but we want to try to get out as many people as we could hold.
But I know that you were saying that you wanted to tour Alice across the country.
Yeah.
And when
wanna
will
see
this
Alice.
happen? Because I think, Cal State Long Beach or even my school, Cal State Los Angeles, would love to welcome you in and see Alice in person. So how can we make that happen?
Yes, please.
With the prepping process, first we're going to need to prep her. And
Okay.
that means that we're going to have to, secure her and add to different parts of the skull that are missing. So we have like a complete composite
Right.
of her full skull. And then it has to go to a public repository. So that's like either a museum or a university that has an archive of fossils. And we want to try to, get her around, maybe get her to a few places. We're not quite sure yet on the exact destination, but the actual skull will go definitely in a public repository or museum.
Wouldn't that be the rub if the La Brea Tar Pit Museum is the one that housed
Yeah,
Alice
they're
after they
housing
turned you down?
Your Alice and the rest of your crews.
That would be awesome 360.
I love it. That actually, hey, the world goes around 360, right? I mean, that could be an amazing opportunity, right? And that could be a great TED Talk as well. But hey, I gotta say,
That's awesome.
Harrison Duran, you are fabulous, my friend. You're very inspiring. You inspired myself and Marissa Pitts and the rest of the Chris Collins Show team. And I just want to let you know, let the listeners know, where can they follow you on social media?
Yeah, so you could follow me on Instagram at Harry Duran 1996. That
Hey,
is
let's
my
go.
Instagram handle. And I am also on Twitter as Harry Duran, so you'll be able to find me on there.
But
And
he
what was
only
the web-
likes to be called Harrison, folks.
Yeah, call him Harrison, okay? Unless you're really close with him, you can call him Harry, all
Only
right?
his
He's a
girlfriend.
wizard, Harry.
Only his girlfriend can call him Harry.
Yes, exactly. Hey, but what is the website to Fossil Excavator?
Yeah, so it's just fossilexcavators.com.
Oh, I
And
love it.
Oh, easy
see it.
breezy. I like that.
Hey, rock and roll, man. Hopefully we can cross paths real soon and come and
Yes.
visit your hometown, Orange
Bring-
County, all
bring
right?
Alice and
let's
let's
go
do
grab
like
a
a TED
drink
Talk.
and let's have some fun times, all right?
Hey, absolutely. Hey, guys, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you so
Ciao,
much,
thank you.
Harrison, and enjoy the weekend, my friend.
All right, take care.
What's good? I'm Chris Collins. For more updates on the future of our generation, be sure to subscribe to our channel and check out thechriscollinsshow.com. Peace!